Welcome everybody. My name is Jeremy Walsh. I'm the Director of Support for BNI Connect, and today's webinar is on the chapter webmaster functions of BNI Connect. One thing that many people may or may not know out there is that every chapter in BNI Connect gets their very own chapter website that has a couple of pages available for editing so that you can customize it. You can put your own information up there to make it your own. It could be talking about your chapter, it could be putting up photos about your chapter, linking to other sites such as your chapter Facebook page. All that stuff is available through the CMS system, the content management system within BNI Connect. So before we get into that, I'd like to start this off with a quick story, if you could. And a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting here in my office, and in walks one of my clients for my regular business, and he said, listen, I need a referral. I'm still a chapter member. I've been a chapter member for about 10 years here in Rhode Island, and it's great when that happens. A referral just falls into your lap. And I said, great. I'm going to look up this person on my BNI Connect regional site. So I went to bniri.com. And I went to find a member, and he was looking for a bookkeeper, somebody. He already had an in-house bookkeeper, but somebody to kind of teach them some new tricks in the bookkeeping world to assist them. And the person in my chapter, his name is Glenn Zibolis. So I looked him up, and what I wanted to do was go to his page and print out this page almost as like an enhanced business card to be able to really increase the credibility of that referral. Unfortunately, this is all that Glenn has on his profile right now. Just recently he did put a picture up, so it did have his picture, but not much else. It does have his company name, Granite Road Associates. It has a one-line description of his business, but it doesn't have his email, his phone numbers, his Facebook addresses, his contact information. None of that was listed there. In contrast, if somebody was looking for me in BNI Connect, or even just Googling me, they would get this site as well. They would see a lot more information. Now this would be an enhanced business card passing along my full address, my full phone numbers, my website, my social media links, more about my business. So I ended up writing down his phone number on a little yellow sticky note because my business card binder was on the front seat of my car. But if I can encourage you to do one thing, is that after this webinar, as you start to build your chapter website, it will give more visibility to your members and the member profiles that are out there. So in order to increase their credibility, I highly recommend that you go and get your chapter to really fill out this information online so that it's full, it's complete, and it shows more information about them. Now let's take a look at a chapter website real quick. And if I go to bniri.com/Wakefield, this is our chapter website. Our chapter website is still mostly an out-of-the-box website. Our personal webmaster hasn't done too much to it, but by default it's going to have some things on it. On the left-hand side here, it's going to have our meeting information, so when we meet, where we meet, who our leadership team is, and who our director is. It's going to have how much closed business we've passed, and that's pulled automatically from the system based on the POMS reports for the last 12 months. I've customized it a little bit by putting our Facebook link to our chapter Facebook page, and it's going to have our upcoming speakers. They'll also list all of our chapter members on there, and this is where it would be a good idea to make sure that your chapter members have gone through and filled out their profiles. And then you have a third tab that you can use for a couple of different purposes. By default, it's going to be a chapter photo gallery. I've turned this into a BNI news feed so that it takes the RSS feed from the BNI headquarters and puts them onto our chapter website, which helps with our search engine optimization a little bit. So now the way that you update this and change this around is by using the CMS editor within BNI Connect. So in order to do that, you do have to go to the BNI Connect site and log in. Once you've logged in, you'll get your home screen. And if you've been assigned as a chapter webmaster, what you will see here is the Tools menu. If you don't see this Tools menu, if this Tools menu is missing, What you do need to do is to go to your regional office, your director consultant, your regional admin, your executive director, and say, hey, I'd like to be the webmaster for my chapter. And the person from your regional office will be able to assign that role to you. And once they do that, the next time you log in, you will see this Tools menu. Under the Tools menu, there'll be CMS. And if you are a regional webmaster, you'll see region websites. If you're a chapter webmaster, you'll see chapter websites. For the purpose of today, I'm going to click on chapter websites. And by the way, I forgot to mention in the beginning of this call, if you have any questions while we're going along, there's a couple of ways that you can ask questions. This is a live webinar. So there's a questions interface right on the GoToMeeting control panel. So just type in your question. I'd be happy to answer it as we're going along. Or if it's something outside of the scope of what we're talking about right at this moment, then there should be plenty of time for questions on any part of the system at the end. Alternatively, if you're using a computer that has a microphone attached or you're dialed in with a regular telephone, I'd be happy to unmute your microphone. You can just raise your hand or type in a question, please open my mic, and I'd be happy to talk with you. So going back into the system, this is now the chapter websites interface. Again, I got there by going to Tools, CMS, Chapter Websites. Now, by default, these drop-down lists are going to have any of the pages or countries or regions that you have access to. Now, I don't want to mess with Connecticut stuff. As an administrator, I have access to the rest of the world. I'm going to switch over to Antarctica, which is our test country. And I'm going to go to our Shiver region there. And these are the chapter websites that are available in Antarctica. Now, we do have a question already from Warren. Warren says, can the BNI chapter webpage URL be customized? Yes, it can be, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. Again, going back to permissions, you're only going to see the ones that you have access to. So if you're the webmaster for a single chapter, you will only see your one chapter listed here. You can be assigned as a webmaster if you have a relationship with your regional office and they'd like you to help to manage multiple chapter websites. You would see all of those websites listed here. On the left, it'll be a link to the chapter website. So you could go directly to that chapter website and go take a look at it. You could also see who created it. By default, this is just going to be the system administrator. And then the last time that it was modified. To now go in and edit that chapter website, you would click on this link over on the right for edit. So I'm going to choose this, let's see, I'm going to choose the Polar Referrals chapter to edit their web page. On this page, we see a bunch of different options. Now there's 3 tabs available. We have the pages, the library, and the site information. The pages are all the different web pages that we can access. So the top page would be home, and then we have the chapter members page, and then the different level pages within the chapter members page. So the member details page, the chapter details page, and the send message page. And then we have the gallery, which if you remember the Wakefield site, I turned that into a news feed. I'll get back to this page in just a minute, but let's take a look at these other tabs. The second tab is the library tab, and before you put anything like pictures on your website or flash objects or documents such as PDF files, the first thing you have to do is load them up into the library for the website. Doing that's pretty straightforward. All you're going to do is go to what type it is. Is it an image, meaning a picture, a document, or a flash object? And you're going to click the Upload button. Once you get there, you're going to click on this magnifying glass. So all you need to do is pick the image from somewhere on your computer. So I have a couple of images here on my desktop. I'm going to click this Help image. It tells me what the name of the file is and how big it is. Then I click Upload. So now that particular file is part of the library that I can use to add pictures to my website. If I'd like to upload another one, I'll just click the Upload button again. Click the magnifying glass, and maybe I'll put up this official BNI logo and click Upload. So now BNI does have a number of stock images up there for you, but if you'd like to upload your own custom images, this is how to do it. If you'd like to remove something from the library, just put a check mark in it and click the Delete button. And the same is true for documents and Flash objects. We do have another question up here from Brian. Can you put in custom HTML, CSS, JavaScript? Yes, you can. We'll get into that in just a second, and I'll even show you a quick example of something like where you have to use custom scripts to put in, for example, the Facebook plugin, if you'd like to have Facebook likes on your page. The next tab over is the Site Information tab. And to address your question here, Warren, this is where you can change the URL for your chapter website. And that's right here. There's a couple of things that we can change on this page. And the first thing here is the chapter folder name. By default, BNI Connect is going to create a URL that is your region's website / the name of the region -- name of the chapter -- so there's dashes in between anywhere where there was a space. That may be a little bit hard to remember or hard to connect to at a later time, but you can customize that, and here's where you would do that. All you need to do is take that out and type in whatever you'd like in here. So maybe we wanted to call this one Polar Referrals. And we could then change that URL that way. If you have a vanity URL, your own custom URL, then my recommendation is that you edit this particular site, but then you point to that URL back to this page. That way all the BNI branding is there, it's compliant. The information that is pulled dynamically from the system will also always be there instead of you having to maintain that separately on your own site. If you don't have your own domain name, I would highly recommend that you talk to your executive director first. And depending on the region, they may have policies on purchasing those particular chapter domain names. So I'm just going to click off of this because I don't want to save the changes on this one. But we can't change the site tagline. The site tagline that is Local Business Global Network, that is BNI's corporate tagline, so that does have to stay there. That will change only if BNI headquarters changes that. Now these buttons you can change. So if I go back here, I'm going to go to our live URL site. These are the buttons up here: Regional Website, BNI International, and Members Only. So you can change what those buttons are and what they say by changing the button description here. I'd be a little cautious to make sure that it still fits within the button size, but if you wanted this to say, instead of regional website, you wanted to, in my case, bniri.com, I want that to be in there. And instead of BNI International, I had BNI HQ or bni.com. And members only, maybe I wanted that to say BNI Connect or log in, something like that. You can change those button names. And finally on here, if you're using something like Google Analytics, you can paste your Google Analytics code right into here. So you do have to sign up with an analytics service first, and once you do that, they will give you the code. All you need to do is copy it from their system and paste it right in here, which will help you track who's going to your site, how long they're staying on it, which links they're clicking, things along those lines. One final note is that if you do change your website address, you do change your chapter folder name, there's one additional step in the process besides just publishing the site, and that is you will need to contact your regional office. The regional office will need to publish their regional website because there are a number of links and back-end connections tied to that URL that the regional website needs to be republished. So if you do change your folder name, give a call to your regional office and say, hey, I changed my folder name. Can you please republish the regional websites? And I'm sure they'll be happy to help you out with that. So Warren, I hope that fully answers your question there. Okay, going back to the pages information. Now I'm just going to refresh this page here because I wanted to actually lose the changes that I made on the other screen. And I'm going to go back into this Polar Referrals page to edit it. So this Pages tab is going to show us all the different pages. Unfortunately, to preempt the question that inevitably gets asked, we cannot create any new pages at this time on the chapter websites. So we only have the ability to update and edit the pages that are here. We have the home page, the chapter members page, and the sub pages, and then the gallery. We'll see when they were last modified and saved. And here's where we can change the name of some of the pages. And to do that, you just click on the Edit Name. Now this one you don't have to get authorized by your regional office. You can simply change the name of your pages on here. Now the home page, we can change the name of it, but we can't change the associated file name with it. So if I wanted to change this instead of home to, let's say, my chapter, I could do that and click Submit. Now, anytime you make a change and you want to see it on your live site, you do need to click the Publish button. Similar to things like Microsoft Word and other programs, when you're working on your chapter website, you're actually working on a copy of the website. And that's called the preview site. So as you're making text changes, as you're uploading pictures, you're making changes to this back-end copy. And you can always take a look at that by clicking on the preview URL here. And you can see that in my preview URL, the tab here, the page, has changed from home to my chapter. But if we look out on the live site, we can see that it still says home. Now, if I want to take those changes from my preview site, which can include all the text editing that I may have done, and I want to put that into the live site, what I need to do is hit this Publish button in the bottom right-hand corner. Once I hit that Publish button, you'll see the screen kind of turns bluish there for a minute. The publishing process can take anywhere from a couple of seconds, in this case it took about 10 seconds, to a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. A lot of it's going to depend on how many graphics and other complicated things that you may do when you get into some advanced editing on the site. Now if I refresh our live page here, we can see that it now shows the My Chapter instead of the home screen. Some of the other pages, you can change both the name and the file name so that it has the full link extension on that as well. So if I wanted this to say, trusted referral sources, and also change the name of the file, I could do that here as well. And again, now if I go to my preview site, we can now see that it says Trusted Referral Sources. And we can also see up here in the address bar that the name of the file has been changed to trustedreferralsources.php. The next tag is option here is to edit the meta tags. Now this is a search engine optimization thing that will help you with your analytics as well as your being found on places like Google by putting in a good description and keywords about your website. For more information on that, I would highly recommend that you talk to the search engine optimization guru in your chapter or your region. Or if you happen to be a website programmer by nature, you'll know more about this yourself. But it is somewhat of an art form. So I would recommend that you spend some time editing this if you want to do better in the search engines. The final option is edit content, which we're going to get into here. On one of the pages on this particular site, you will see that there's a special option here, and that is under Gallery. Now, the gallery is an optional photo gallery that you can use for your website for doing things like displaying pictures of gatherings. Some people have also repurposed this page to do things, as I did for BNI Wakefield, to put in the RSS feed from headquarters, or if you wanted to do some type of a plugin to make it a almost like a newsletter, things happening in our chapter type of page, you can do that. For this particular page, though, you'll see this option here that says Show. So if it says Show, that means that the page is currently hidden. If it says Hide, it means that the page is currently visible. So going back out to our preview site here, we can see that we only have two tabs available. We have My Chapter, and we have Trusted Referral Sources. If I go back to this interface and I click on Show, it's going to say, are you sure you want to show this page? And I'm going to click Submit. If I now refresh our preview site, we'll see that we have a new page here called the Gallery. And again, you can use this as a picture gallery by default, or you can repurpose this to something else that you might like to use it for. So now we come to the meat and potatoes of what you're going to be doing with your chapter website, and that really is going into the Edit Content functionality. When I click on Edit Content, it's going to open up a new window. And if you just give me a second, I'm going to switch over to that window in the webinar. And this is what pops up. So this is the Edit Content view. And if you're familiar with Microsoft Word or any other document editing software, you'll probably catch on to this pretty quickly. The first thing you'll notice is that there's a yellow bar across the top, and it's telling us what we're doing. We're editing the page, and it tells us the name of the page. There's a couple of buttons here. The first button is Using Library Images, and what that means is that we're using the library of images that we've uploaded. If I click this button, it's a toggle button, and what it's going to do is it switches it from our library to the common library. And what this means is that when we go to upload photos or put photos into this site, BNI has a stock set of pictures that you're welcome to use, or if I click it again, it will bring us back to the pictures that we uploaded earlier. The preview button is if you want to preview the changes that you've made. The save button is to save the changes that you've made. And close closes out of this editing interface and brings you back to the main screen. Now on the rest of this screen is the content that we can edit. So in this section here will be the content that we can do. Brian has a question. Is there a way to edit the HTML in the page rather than a set processor? And absolutely there is. I'm going to get to that in just a second. The left-hand side bar, that's the stuff that is filled with dynamic content. And one other thing that I'll point out before we get into what all these different buttons do is that there is one particular dynamic tag in the site that's available, and that's #TYFCB. And that's what allows the web page to reach into BNI Connect and pull out how much money that your chapter has passed for the year. One thing to note about this particular amount is that it's based on the POMS reports. So as your vice president enters POMS reports for the last 12 completed months. So right now your chapter websites will be showing through August 30th or 31st, 30 days has September. Okay, 31st of August. It'll show all the thank you for closed business for that year. Now, in just a couple of days on October 1st, it will then show all of the closed business through the end of September. I'm going to go through these buttons and show you what they mean. And Brian, to answer your question, if you click on this source button, which is the first button here, you can go in and toggle back and forth between looking at the source code for the page and using the WYSIWYG editor. And WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get. So if you would like to edit in a direct HTML code, or to be able to copy and paste HTML code right into the system, you can do that by using the source button. And in order to do some of the more advanced things on the site, such as adding a Facebook link or an iframe or things like that, you will need to use this source button. If all you're going to be doing is updating the text on the page, then you'll be able to get away with just using this WYSIWYG editor. So Brian, I hope that answers your question. Okay, so for those of you that are already web programmers, the next part may be a little bit simplistic for you, but for those of you that this is your first time looking at a CMS editor, I'm just going to go through and kind of show you what each of these buttons does. Now, one little hint while we have the source button up is if you're afraid that you're going to make some changes to the site and not be able to go back, one thing you could do is switch to the source button, hit Control-A or highlight everything here, right-click and choose Copy, and then paste that into something like Notepad or a plain text editor. And what this will do is allow you to basically revert those changes back. So for example, I just opened up Notepad, and I can paste all this into Notepad, and then I can save it. So I'm just going to save this on my desktop as default chapter. And now I can go through and let's say that I completely mess up my web page. I can take this and paste it right back in and get back to where I was before. So let me get back to the edit page content here. And let's go through some of these buttons. David asks, can we put in a video? And absolutely, yes, you can. So, and I can show you how to do that as well in a few minutes. So the second button here is if you wanted to change the layout, the default template of this, you can choose a different template that you'd like to switch over to. And again, here's where a source button would come in very handy. But you can change the default template. The undo button, obviously, is to undo the last thing that you did. And the redo button would be to redo it. And Brian asks, do all of the templates involve tables? And right now there's only 3 templates, and yes, they do involve tables. But again, you're welcome to, if you'd like to, just delete all that and start from scratch if you find that easier. Again, obviously, undo, redo. The scissors is a cut button. It's actually disabled on my particular browser, and that's just a Google Chrome thing, but that would obviously cut the text that you have highlighted. And copy is the next one, which is copying the text. Paste allows you to take whatever is on your computer's clipboard and paste it into the document. Again, this is a Google Chrome thing that doesn't allow access directly to the clipboard for security reasons, so it does put an interface one step in between. The next button here is paste as plain text. I would definitely use this particular icon whenever if you're trying to copy things from another website, text-wise or from a Word document or things like that. These next two buttons are helpful because what it does is it helps to strip some of the back-end code, allowing it to paste properly. Sometimes when we bring over things like symbols, especially things like pound signs and chevrons and greater than less than signs, it confuses it as HTML code. So using those next two buttons, paste as plain text or paste from Word, help to take that extra code out of it. As your website starts to grow, especially if you have many, many pages, the next button is the Find button, so you can find text within your site. And also the next one is Replace. So if you, for example, misspelled something, or you wanted to change all the word Tuesdays to the word Thursdays, this would be a helpful function for this. Next button is just Select All, same as hitting Control-A on your keyboard. And the next button is removing formatting. So if you have a bunch of text that you've typed in with all different formats and you wanted to get that back to default, you could highlight that and choose Remove Format, and it puts everything right back into the default font, the default style, default size, the default color. The next buttons have to do with forms within the system. So if I wanted to put a form onto my particular website, I could give the form a name. And click OK. And what this will do is add a form. Now within that form you can start to put things like, if you wanted to say, hey, email me your information for them to fill out, that's what you would use this for, and you can fill that up with checkboxes. You can fill that up with radio buttons, selections. You can put in entry text fields. Whole text areas for them to write in. Selection fields if you need to have multiple values. And you would put in what you want your text to be. Buttons that perform various options. A button that has a picture in it. Now for this we'd have to attach it to an actual image. Hidden fields, if you choose to use hidden fields or you want to plant some Easter eggs on your site. Maximize is just going to maximize the screen so that we see it full screen. Now showing blocks is similar to if you ever use the paragraph formatting in Microsoft Word. It'll show you how the text is laid out on the site so we can see all our different blocks, our different paragraphs. Some people find this a little bit easier to work in when they're doing typing and things. Superscript and subscript. So this lowers something, and this raises it up. So for doing something like on the 2nd of the month, and we wanted that second to be a superscript, that was how we would do it there. Bold, italic, and underline are pretty straightforward. Bold, italic, underline, and then of course we have strike through. Just a hint, if you do things like list events on a static website, strike through is a great thing to use after the event is passed so that people see that you had it, so you still have a nice long list of things, but they know that it's not active anymore. You can put numbered and bulleted lists as well. And then we can also have a bulleted list. We can increase the indenting or decrease it. We can put in a block quote. And then we can create div containers too. Now we're getting into a little bit more advanced stuff. The formatting options, paragraph formatting options, left-centered, fully centered, align left, centered, align right, and fully justified. The next button allows you to link to external sources. So if I wanted the words month open to link to an external website, and I don't even know if that's a real website, it would then underline the word and allow us to link to that website. That's also helpful for linking pictures to various websites. If I decide I don't want that anymore, I can click the unlink button and make it go away. Anchors are helpful if you have long websites so that it controls the scrolling down features. Now this is where you can start adding images, and images are added by clicking the image button. Now we uploaded a couple of photos before, so what we need to do is first, if we look up in this upper right hand corner, we can see that I'm using library images, which means it's going to use the ones that I put up. If I click on Browse Server, it's going to open up another window, and let me switch over to that window that it just popped up here. And we can see some of the images that are available up in that library. Some of these images were uploaded into the library by default, but we can also see the two images that I put up there, the official BNI logo and the BNI Connect support picture. So once I select that, and let me switch back over to my edit screen, we can see our options for this image. So I can control the width and the height. So if I wanted to make it much bigger, I can make it much bigger, or I can make it smaller. By default, it's going to lock that ratio for you, so you don't have to worry if it's going to skew. But if you wanted to unlock it, to change that height and width, you can do that as well. And if you want to just put it back to what it was before, click Reset. You can set a border around it, you can set the spacing around it, and how it's aligned. Once I click OK, we can see that it popped this picture right in where I had my cursor. Now we have some similar things available with Flash objects, but I don't have any Flash objects loaded right now. So tables are very useful if you wanted to do an organized list, so that you can use that for typing in lists of information, and it keeps it from going scattered all over the screen. If you want to start segregating things, you can put lines in as well to show sections. Now we do have the button here because it's part of the default editor. I mean, if you'd like to put smiley faces on your website, you do have that capability. Although I don't know too many professional websites that have smiley faces all over them. The special characters are helpful, especially on international sites. If you don't have, for example, the copyright button on your keyboard or the registered trademark button, or some of the other symbols that may not be available on your keyboard. This is the place to find those symbols and to put them into the website. The next couple of buttons are styles. So if I wanted to change the style of this particular section, I could do that. Change it to a blue style or a red title. And there's a number of different options there for you. I'd be careful when we're starting to go into this particular section. BNI is very proud of its branding. They do have a number of various branding standards. So there is a website, BNIBranding.com, which gives a lot of the standards that we use, such as the Arial font is the default font for BNI. So whenever possible, and again, talk to your regional office about this, but try to stick to the branding standards within BNI. But you do have the option to change the fonts if you choose to do so, as well as to change their size. We can highlight various text with text colors and through highlighting. So that covers those main functions within the system. Do we have any questions on anything so far? David asks, can we use custom CSS files? And I believe that you can. I'm a little bit limited in my personal web knowledge, so I would definitely, there's another member of our team, his name is Frank Ruiz, and he is our regional and chapter website guru. So what I would do is if you want to submit a ticket into support, I can definitely get more information on that for you. Jim asks, is there any way that we can tie the members listed on BNI Connect to an independent website? And the answer to that is not directly, at least not through any type of API or anything. BNI Connect is a closed system, so we do not allow any querying. If you can pull them off of the chapter page and put them on another site, that's a different story. But right now, no, we do not allow any type of interaction back in to pull the data out. Brian asks, since it allows HTML, you could use inline CSS. So thank you, Brian. That is an excellent point. So David, I hope Brian was able to answer your question. That's why I love having all of these peoples on the call. So now putting in a video, David did ask a question from before, and there are quite a few websites out there that do have videos on their site. What you probably need to do, though, is to embed something. For example, I have embedded videos on the site before, and the way that I found that was easiest to do it is by uploading something to YouTube and then putting in the IFrame code. And let me show you how you can do that. I happen to have a YouTube library. And let me switch back over to my other screen here. And I'm going to go to YouTube real quick and go into my BNI Connect Global Video Manager. And, for example, we do have some of these available that I can embed. So if I go to this particular video and I go to the Share button and I go to this Embed code, this will give me the IFrame code that I can use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this IFrame code, and let me go back over to the other screen here, to the Edit Page Content. And whenever you want to do something like embedding a video, what you are going to have to do is switch over to the source code. So I'm switching over to the source code. I'm just going to drop this all the way at the bottom, and I'm just going to Control V and paste in the iframe. Now if I click Save, we can now see the video is embedded right into the site. So David, does that help there? Obviously you do need to host the video somewhere else, such as YouTube, which allows unlimited hosting up there. And Wayne asks a question, will this session be available to us for later reference? Yes. So in a couple of days, what I'll be doing is I'll be uploading the recording that we took up to YouTube. So you can either go find it on my YouTube channel, which is BNI Connect Global. You can also, I'll send a link out with a thank you for attending this webinar that will have that available. And we also have previous copies of this already uploaded on the support site, which I'm going to show you in just a second. So do we have any other questions while we're in here about the regional website, or I'm sorry, about the chapter website? So again, I save this. I'm going to close it. And now if I go back to my main screen, what we should be able to see if I go to the preview site is all of this stuff that I put on there. So all the changes that I made, the tables that I made, the picture that I put in, and the video that I put in. Now I also said I'd show you if you guys have a chapter website, there is a place where you can get the IFrame code to put in there as well. And the place to go to do that, here's a link here. If you go to the easier place is just go to Facebook and type in like button, but the full page is up here in the address bar. It's developers.facebook.com/docs/reference/plugins/like. And what this does is it brings you to a place that allows you to create the like button. So all you need to do is to put in the site. Now we can't use the XFBML, and we just choose our options here and we click on Get Code. Now what you want to do is pick the IFrame code here, copy it and paste it right back into the, so let's say I want to put this on my member details page. And give me a second while I switch over to my other screen. And let's say I want to put this right at the top of my member details page. I'm going to switch to source and put it there. Maybe I want to put it at the bottom too, just to make sure everybody sees my Facebook. And one thing that you may not have picked up on the first one is in this blue bar here, you can change this as well. So I'm going to click Save, and it will show us our Facebook buttons. Let me switch over again to my other screen. And if I look at our preview site, we will now see, oh, I didn't publish it, my fault. If I go over to our site, we should now see on our trusted referral sources, whenever we get to a member page, we'll see the Facebook links there. Brian asks, what is the official branding guidelines site again? And that is BNI Branding.com. And this will take you to the BNI branding. If you need a login for this site, please contact your regional office. Your executive director, director consultant will have that information for you to be able to log in. But you can get things like logos and all sorts of stuff from this particular site. Most of the other pages, they all work the same way. The difference is on some of the pages, for example, on the member details page, which I edited, we only have a limited amount of information that we can actually edit. For example, the header and the footer. And the gallery gives you a little bit more flexibility as well. So that covers the chapter, at least the introductory chapter level guide to CMS editing. Do we have any questions about this particular functionality? Otherwise, I am also happy to answer any questions you have about BNI Connect in general. We do have about 9 minutes left on this scheduled webinar, although I am always happy to stay on these webinars as long as people have questions. While you guys are thinking of your questions, I'd like to ask for a couple of favors. First of which is, if you do need assistance in any way, you can click on this little question mark button within BNI Connect, and what that will do will take you to support.bniconnect.com. And this is our support page for BNI Connect. We do have all of our webinars listed here, and if you scroll down past that, you'll see there's a number of forums available. So we do love it when you give us suggestions and enhancement requests, and there's also a number of trainings. So just about all of the member level functions that you may have, we do have documented within the training section, and we also have previous webinars. So for the person that asked before whether or not this was recorded, if you go to support.bniconnect.com, and here in the training section there's webinars. If we click on member webinars, we can see a sampling of the recorded webinars that are available, including, if we scroll down, the BNI Connect for Chapter Webmasters. The second place I'd like you to go, if you can, is, I mentioned it before, facebook.com/BNI Connect Global. This is another way for us to get the information out there. We have tips and tricks and webinar reminders and upgrade announcements all through this site. Drop us a line on there, send us a comment, give us a like. I would greatly appreciate that as well. And as always, if you did enjoy today's webinar, we do about 15 to 20 webinars a month on a whole range of topics, from updating your member profile to how to use the social media functions to what do the visitor hosts do in BNI Connect. All that stuff is out there and available. All you need to do is please let your chapter members know that they're available and come join us on a webinar. David asks, is the code in HTML5? And I believe that it is. Not 100% sure on that, but if you'd like to, you can always go to and submit that question to us on the support site. So again, if you go to the support site, up at the top, there's a link that says submit a request. And what that'll do is it'll send a ticket in to us here at the support desk, and I will be able to send that technical question on to our website experts. Claudia asks, our chapter is building a separate site, and we will definitely be building the regional site. What's the best way to highlight the non-regional site on the regional site? Now, if you're talking about your actual regional site, meaning the one that comprises your whole region, that's something to definitely talk about with your regional office. As far as cross-linking, probably the best way is to just cross-link within the pages of this site. I would highly recommend that you put more effort into the BNI Connect regional site as opposed to building another one outside of BNI Connect. And the reason for that is it's inherently harder to maintain. And as people join and leave the chapter, that's all stuff that's handled automatically by the BNI Connect site, whereas you have to maintain that by your own, within your own chapter site, if you have it outside of BNI Connect. The other issue with that is that if your webmaster, if the person that bought that domain or has been maintaining it does leave the chapter, that usually ends up leaving an orphan site sitting out there on the internet somewhere. So we highly recommend putting the majority of your efforts into this particular site, and definitely talk to your regional office, talk to your executive director more about maintaining your own outside of BNI Connect site. So Claudia, I hope that answers your question. Now I don't see any other questions there. If you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time. Again, they can be on the CMS editor or they can be on anything else in the system. Excellent. So if it's all absolutely crystal clear and I've answered all of your questions, I would like to thank you guys for your time today. Remember to visit the support.bniconnect.com site by just going to support.bniconnect.com or clicking on the question mark and or joining us on Facebook. And I would absolutely love to hear from you in the future. And please, a good referral for me is to go back to your chapter and let them know about these webinars. We'd love to get the word out there about all the great features within BNI Connect and all the great things that are coming as well. Thank you for your time today, and happy connecting, everyone.